On a weekend postponed by a celebrity stopover, one may find oneself looking for a diversion from the city life. And for those looking for a diversion made of craftsmanship, power, and daring, look no further than the Fowlerville Fairgrounds. This grassroots raceway in the northern heartland is about to be blown away. But will it be the thunder on the track or the thunder in the skies? Last time we saw you was about 2.5 hours southwest of here. We are about an hour northwest of Detroit right now in Fowlerville, Michigan for an awesome weekend of action. A huge field of trucks getting ready to take part in this Monster Truck Throwdown event brought to you by North Star Ranch Contract Carriers as we get ready, as I said, for a massive field. We're going to look at best trick highlights. We'll also have qualifying round highlights coming your way in just a minute before we get to the racing action. But there is a massive storm rolling in, so we are trying to get things underway and get this through as quickly as possible so these fans get their money's worth. First up, Elliott Miller out of Middleville, Michigan, opens up a wild best trick competition with that move, trying to put up some big points early. The Frontier Truck Parts Sinistar C10 Chevrolet, certainly not disappointing. Wild sky wheelies and the trademark slap wheelie only earned him a 6 out of 10. I say only. That first move we thought for sure would get him a bigger number, but he was impressive. Gave these guys something to go after. Megabyte, John Kohler. Another of the second generation of Team Scream grabbing a slap wheelie, putting a lot of pressure on those steering rams in the back when he did that, but the trucks hold up those Corey Rummel built machines that these guys have been fielding for many years. This truck definitely capable of taking whatever the Kohlers throw at it. And he would grab a 4, looking for a little more. Couldn't quite make the slap wheelies happen, but there was a lot more left in this track to be seen. Athena Cozell out of Mount Pleasant, Texas, the teammate to Elliott Miller and the Frontier Truck Parts Sinistar. Old Brian Bartle built truck right here. Copy of an early gen Patrick, and this thing works really well. We saw her walk to speed, walk to run, a score of 5, creeping up on Elliott Miller, not quite able to jump over him, but she looks so much more comfortable since the first time we saw her at the wheel. We'll see what she does for the rest of this evening's action. Kylie Kent, the Send It Motorsports Sinistar, carrying the colors for Rock Bottom Stone Supply. Just getting her start in monster truck competition. She will take over another brand new ride for Send It Motorsports in 2025. Only a 3, but again, one of her first times out in a truck in a competitive situation. Now another brand new driver, Whitney Hayes. St. James, Missouri, and Twisted Addiction. Tim Jones's machine, a brand new truck, getting real aggressive out there. Let off of it in the air, and that will come with experience. She'll learn not to do that, but still scored a 4. Impressive, but not getting quite what she had hoped. Put a hurting on that truck in that run. Now a guy who might have this one in the bag. We'd find out. Joe Foley, fireman out of Leicester, Massachusetts, in Axe. Another member of the Team Scream camp, notorious for some wild slap wheelies. That's the old Avenger 2 chassis. That V-Cradle scores a 6, so he ties Elliott Miller at this point in the best trick competition. Now his boss, Jim Kohler out of Columbus, Michigan, one of the 3 trucks here representing Team Scream. And you see, still grabs the stoppie, but he dragged the cradle over the concrete there. One of the unfortunate side effects to these tank-like low-slung war wagons. And the lower you drop that cradle, the more prone it's going to be to grab things on the ground. But the truck works like a charm, and it would net him a score of 7. He would take the top spot away from Miller and Foley. John Zimmer Sr., future Hall of Famer. Now from right up the road in Howell, Michigan, title sponsor on this machine, North Star Ranch Inc. Contract Carriers, and John getting wild with that stoppie. Ripping up the silty, sandy Michigan soil for a score of 8. 2 points on the board at this point in the competition. Now, the wild man, Tim Jones on a St. James, Missouri in the tailgater. Big air into a slap, Willie. Always a crowd favorite. What would he do to follow it up as he tried to knock down an 8? Wasn't the prettiest stoppie, but it was a good one. A score of 9 for Tim Jones. And that left 1 point on the board for this man. Sendit Motorsports Terminal Velocity, John Zimmer Jr. driving his dream machine and throwing down another one of those ultra-controlled stoppies. Again, this guy always makes this look so effortless. Lighter weight machine, especially at this point in this industry, so used to seeing these big heavyweight trucks that are in the high 12,000 pound range, maybe the mid 13s, and if you're talking in terms of the Team Scream camp, into the 14,000, mid 14,000 pound range. But this machine, ultra light by comparison, and you can see, as I said, how effortless John Zimmer Jr. makes it look. We knew he was going to be a threat to win this thing if he was able to make 2 good moves in this competition. Now, it was 2 stoppies with 2 walks, but they were not identical stoppies, as he got 1 off of the popper and 1 kicking it off of the trench box. A score of 10 for John Zimmer Jr., and that would net him the first victory on a very important weekend in Fowlerville.
I think you just whooped that entire field with those 2 moves. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's super awesome. You know, it's amazing to be able to come do a show 10 minutes from home. I just moved to Michigan last year when we started this whole Sendit Motorsports thing. It's been nothing but up. I saw these guys laying it down out here, and the track was kind of biting them. I had some ideas in mind. Every single bit of that just worked out for me. Couldn't be any happier.
Now I'm going to let you get back to the truck because we got qualifying next. Racing, is that kind of your thing, or you like freestyle better? Because both those things are coming up.
I like everything, man. I go wild and crazy every single element. Racing is definitely up there on the tier list. You guys will see why in just a little bit.
This presentation is brought to you by Monsters Monthly, your place for photos, videos, event info, and all the happenings in the monster truck industry. Visit monstersmonthly.com. And by Crush This. For a weekly look inside the wide world of monster trucks, check out Crush This, a monster truck podcast. Available on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube.
world-famous C60 Cyclops, the infamous Dodge Carryall Unnamed and Untamed. Get yourself a one-of-a-kind toy of a Mudbogger turned monster truck at freedomracingmt.com.
This presentation is brought to you by Pioneer Pole Buildings. Looking for reliable strength on your next building project? You want a partner as tough as the task ahead. Pioneer Pole Buildings. Built for you, built to last for over 25 years.
Black clouds are bearing down on the back of the grandstands here in Fowlerville, Michigan, as we get near round one of racing. Before we bring you that, we're going to show you qualifying round highlights. We're going to breeze right through these qualifying rounds. Elliott Miller first up. Give you a good look at the track. Well, it should give you a good look at the track, but Elliott Miller decided he wanted to go freestyling. I don't think he really cared whether he made the racing bracket or not, as he makes a quote-unquote mistake coming over the third jump. And he finishes on the wrong side of the pod. A 30.88 second run would not land him in the field. Only the top 8 would move on. Now, the battle to get into this field includes one of some newcomers and a driver, Athena Kozel, who is in her rookie season. In fact, she took Rookie of the Year honors out of the All-Star Monster Truck Tour from first quarter when she ran that point series. A bit conservative in this run, but it might be the way to take this track this weekend. We'll see if it pays off for her as the weekend goes on. She ran a 26.47 second run. Right behind her, John Kohler in Megabyte. Very aggressive drive you see here, but he also would get into the turn rather conservatively. Solid finish, and it paid off. An 18.6 second run for Megabyte out of Columbus, Michigan. We talked about some inexperience in this field. Whitney Hayes out of St. James, Missouri, getting her legs underneath of her, getting the feel for driving a truck. Didn't think she was going to be super competitive, but Tim Jones is her teacher and is going to be teaching her very well. You know she's going to turn into a top driver with a tutor like Tim Jones. 25.77 seconds. Not likely to make the field, we thought, at this point, but still outran Elliott Miller as the Rock Bottom Stone Supply Send It Motorsports Sinistar, representing 2 teams this weekend. Kylie Kent looks towards trying to make the field. Not bad in the turn. She spun it right around and straightened up for the final jump, but still trying to get a feel for the track. Ran a 20.11 second run. Believe it or not, as conservative as she was, the turn was darn near perfect. Joe Foley looking to better the runs in front of him. Hits the turn marker, almost got himself in big trouble, but managed to salvage the run, although he had steering problems on the remainder, and that put him behind an 18.48 second run. Jim Kohler now in Avenger. We knew he'd be aggressive. .91 seconds to blow into the lead. Jim Kohler in Avenger sitting on top, 15.91. Keep that number in mind. John Zimmer Sr. in Uproar. We know he's capable of getting a racing victory. We saw him in first quarter. He's been fast. He's got the experience, and he had his foot in it. A 16.95 second run, though, would not be enough to get into the number 1 spot. Tim Jones, tailgater, in the same lane as Kohler. Pre-steers it, very aggressive, into the final leg, and blasts over the finish line. 14.61 seconds definitely determine the bubble at this point as our final competitor rolled up in qualifying, John Zimmer Jr. in terminal velocity. This was his track design, and even he could not outrun the very aggressive Tim Jones. So Jones sits atop the field in the number 1 spot. The clouds are coming over. We're going to show you what your bracket is going to look like for round 1. Tailgater at the top of the field will take on number 8, Twisted Addiction. It'll be Avenger, number 2, taking on the number 7 truck. Sinistar. Terminal Velocity will go up against Megabyte, and it'll be Uproar taking on Axe. So we have 4 awesome matchups in this first round. A couple of lopsided ones in there, but it'll be interesting to see if some of the rookies, some of the newcomers can step up and surprise these veterans. It's going to be a tall order as the crowd looks on. We're starting to get a little bit of a sprinkle right now. I don't know if you can see that or not coming down on the bricks. Whitney Hayes and Tim Jones, teammates, significant others, right off the bat in the first round. And Hayes has a problem going into the turn. She has shut down. Tim Jones going to walk over into the next round as the rain begins to pour. The skies have opened up. And Tim Jones is going to head on back to the pits, but now he's got to worry about his truck and finding out what's wrong with his team machine. The Twisted Addiction Ford, coming out of the first full straightaway, went straight, never made the turn, and lost power. So hopefully no mechanical problems there. You can see Jones was super aggressive. He's going to be fast all night long. Hopefully, though, with the rain coming down right now, it could change the whole dynamic as we get our next pair ready to come to the line. There you see one of them, Jim Kohler in Avenger. Of course, he's throwing his arms up. You can see how hard it's raining right now. Kylie Kent has not fired. In fact, all right, we are receiving word that they are actually going to call this event right now. The fans are seeking shelter. We've got thunder and lightning in the background. Jim Kohler is going to shut it down. The tarps are going to come out. The plastic bags are going to come out. We're going to cover ignition parts, magnetos. We are going to take an extended break. It's what it looks like is going to happen. We're going to take an extended break as the rain comes down. We're going to try to wait this storm out because it's blowing by. Hopefully it won't take too long. You hang in there with us, and when we come back, we will try to wrap up this event. Stay with us.
Hey, welcome to Wild Man Adventures. First the Silver Lake Sand Dragway. There really wasn't any off-roading back then. It was all off-road. We're on our way to Lima, Ohio. Got wooden wheels.
Oh, it's slippery as all get out of it.
Hey, we're here with Rich Cummins. Hey, we're here with Mike Potter. Hey, we're here with Alan Pizzo. Gotta check it out. This week we're going to go down memory lane.
Pot of gold at the end of this rainbow is the Monster Truck Throwdown here in Fowlerville, Michigan. We appreciate your patience waiting out the storm with us. Although it was a bit longer for us than it was for you guys. About a 45 or 55-minute wait as the crowd actually sought shelter underneath of the grandstand building. There's barns back there, so they were safe and sound, but that storm absolutely brutalized those grandstands, lightning, thunder, and of course a ton of wet weather as the drivers' meeting went on to determine what we were going to do with the rest of this show.
Got that equipment, boys? Yeah, I'm so sorry. I blew too much water, guys.
Still all smiles out here, but you can see why they covered up this very, very expensive componentry on these monster trucks. As I said, the electrical components, the engines, of course, keeping the seats dry as much as they could. I think we have a few wet driver's suits out there, though, as the rain did beat down. Now, here is something that's going to go on. We're going to bring back only the top 4 out of qualifying. We're going straight to the semifinal round. However, Tim Jones is right now in the back working on both of his vehicles, so we're going to drop down to the 5th position. Terminal Velocity and Avenger will be our first matchup in what is now the semifinal round. We're going directly to the semifinals, and then it will be Uproar and Axe going at it in our second semifinal round pairing, and we're going with straight line drag racing. Zimmer still getting a ton of speed on that run. Those BKTs digging into the slop. And I don't know if you can tell or not, there's still a little dusty spot down there. If you can believe that, this track just took on nearly an hour of straight downpour. No time to really push it off. And you can see the water standing on the track. There is no traction to speak of to give us the turning course that we were looking at coming into this thing, but we're getting some ultra fast straight line racing. It's only going to be 3 runs of straight line racing, but it's going to be a good 3 runs as the next pairing comes to the line. John Zimmer Sr. in Uproar, Send It Motorsports Uproar, Patrick Chassis Machine with the Richard Midget horsepower in the back, the brothers Ford Super Duty body atop the chassis, going side by side with the 41 Willis fire truck being driven by the firefighter out of Leicester, Massachusetts. That machine part of Columbus, Michigan's Team Scream. Joe Foley in Axe. 2 guys originally from the Northeast. That was all John Zimmer Sr. Unfortunately, Foley could not find traction. Those Firestones, normally on a dry track, he did a ton of bite with those. You can see the water dumping out of the rim when he got sideways there. Everything is saturated right now. And those Firestones, that's a harder compound tire, and when it doesn't have full cleat on it, it makes it really impossible to get a bite. It's going to be interesting to see what he does in freestyle, as these guys are just trying to make it through show number 1. We're going to head straight into our final round now, though. The Monster Truck Throwdown crew keeping things moving. You can see, though, Foley, no traction to speak of, slides all the way to the top of that bus jump on what used to be the starting line obstacle. Now it's just the blocker for the shutdown area. John Zimmer Sr. in Uproar, getting ready to stage against John Zimmer Jr. in Terminal Velocity. The crowd, they're still hanging in there. Most of them have packed up underneath of there. They're standing down on the ground because the seats out under the open air are completely soaking wet. We have people scattered all down the fence line of this horse track, just trying to grab a piece of the action, and these drivers are not disappointing. They were not going to leave these fans high and dry after sitting through the torrent that just attacked this track. Now, Zimmer and Zimmer, the championship race here on an abbreviated night number 1. John Zimmer Jr. driving it out all the way to the end. Terminal velocity picking up a well-deserved race win. Didn't exactly expect to be there, certainly not under these conditions. He did not qualify in the first spot, but the man who did was unable to return for the straight line bracket. But that means we will have Tim Jones when we come back for Monster Truck Freestyle. In fact, he will be first up in Freestyle. Zimmer has left the track. We're going to get right into it. No more breaks, no more fooling around. We're going right into Monster Truck Freestyle. Tim Jones has effected repairs of the tailgater Concussion Motorsports built chassis, and he is going to attack the track in his trademark wild fashion. And that right there is why the Throwdown crew altered this into a straight line course for the end of Monster Truck Racing. Still got a great qualifying session out of it, so the fans didn't get robbed on seeing the J-hook put to work. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get a full bracket out of it. Jones, though, throwing it into low orbit. Some big hang time for the tailgater, although he's getting in trouble here. And that is a result of having no traction right there, as he was pushing coming into that obstacle, clipped the lip on the flyaway, on the backside of that flyaway, and it threw him sideways. No way to pull that thing out. There was no traction when the tires did get on the ground, although I don't know that it would have helped at the angle he went over that. Probably still could have been a problem on a dry track. Jones, though, no stranger to being on his top, although I'm sure he's glad he didn't have any corners come off on that one now, as they're going to have to figure out how to flip this truck back over. There you see Josh Eckelfarm. Saw him drive the Frontier Truck Parts Sinistar a couple days ago in South Bend, Indiana. Master crew chief, one of the hardest working guys out here. He's also one of the quickest guys on 2 feet. But you can see there's definitely going to be some hang time for the remainder of Freestyle. I think the dirt on the starting line end is chewed up enough that the water is actually soaking down. There's a little bit of tack on that side of the track, it seems like. So we'll see. They may be able to get a good run, and there's a step up on the back of that bus, so they can actually get some big air. Now, here's the other problem. Trying to flip a truck back over sideways with no traction, it won't dig in. The tires are just sliding. So they're going to get another piece of equipment out here, and you're going to see an old industry trick as they'll get tailgater righted and off the track. But here you can see losing traction there. The truck is moving kind of sideways. He couldn't get a full push to get over that obstacle, and when he clipped it with that right front, it threw him sideways in the air, tucked that right rear. And again, with just no drive in this mud, there was really no way to save it once it got over center. Threw it over a little harder than I think he thought it was going to go over, but it looks like it's going to be cosmetic damage only, as the skid steer has been brought out. They pressed the back left corner of that bucket, the broad side, not the blade side, up against that Harper tire. Press it up against the chevrons of that 66. Just pull it right back over. Front's still dragging a little, but that's no problem. Fans love it. Now they'll get tailgater refired and off the track. The Throwdown crew keeping things moving here. A little delay, but hey, any delay is short after 45 minutes of downpour. Jones got to be happy to get that thing refired, as he'll get back into the trailer and try to figure out what's going on with his other machine, Twisted Addiction. and he'll go through this one and get it freshened up for tomorrow. But he set a high bar. Run was a little shorter than he wanted it to be, but set a real high bar starting out this freestyle competition, again with that big air right before the tumble. Tim Jones doing what he does best, thrilling the crowd in the Ford-powered tailgater out of St. James, Missouri. Up next, Joe Foley in Axe. Talked about this guy struggling with the traction. You see those Firestones. I mentioned before they're a harder compound. They're kind of a plasticier tire, and you can see he's going to have to work real hard to get this machine to move, really RPM in that thing. Almost fell to the same fate as Tailgater there. He got bucked off that obstacle sideways. A little bit of a stiffer setup on this truck. And what this mud is going to do is really rob him of the thing that this truck does so well, which is carrying the front end, doing these awesome slap wheelies, it being a V-cradle with the longer 4-link bars and the motor a little bit higher in the chassis. It does some awesome wheelies. It's still going to be able to get some sky wheelies, but the slap wheelies that he has become known for, that he'll often carry from one obstacle to another. He'll in fact hit jumps with the front end in the air and just carry that momentum on over an obstacle. That is going to be robbed from him right now. Trying to find anything he can keep the truck pointed at. Once you get it pointed, once it finds the route it wants to take, you got to get after it and hope that it doesn't slide out from under you. As he is working this track as best he can. He's had some nice big jumps on this thing. Look at that. Holding that front end up in the air. He's lost one bedside. Hopefully that rear steering problem didn't just come back to bite him, as he is struggling with something back there. I think he may be struggling with that rear steering. You see it cocked to the left on him, actually, and it's making the truck want to turn right as we wait for him to re-emerge from behind this speaker tower over here. We had a standby camera there. You can see in the distance that thing is destroyed. And he wraps it up. Nicely done. Manages to slide it to a stop on top of the pod. I mentioned our standby camera back there. That thing did have a rain bag on it when the evening started, and at some point during the storm, that rain bag got ripped off as there were very high winds out here. Weather is absolutely beautiful right now, but the track is a mess, as you can plainly see. But Foley getting the job done. I do believe the amount of time he just spent on the track might have earned him a spot at the top. Jim Kohler now in the Avenger. Boss man from Team Scream, Mr. Excitement, in this absolute tank of a monster machine. Corey Rummel built chassis here, running that big Team Scream horsepower out of Columbus, Michigan. This truck is capable of pretty much whatever Jim wants to throw at it. Big air. One of the few guys out here still running a full set of Ukraines, and those have seen better days. When those tires were brand new, they are about exactly what you would want for this track, but they're a little used up right now. However, he's still managing to find traction with those, and it might be to his advantage being as heavy as he is out here. Again, in the mid 14,000 pound range this truck is, and that might be helping him in this mud to get around here and kind of point and shoot as he's doing. Nice hang time coming back over the bus. Little upside you just saw there. You get sideways in the mud and let it slide out. As long as it slides flat over the obstacles, it won't throw you over because the tires can't catch an edge. On the way back through there, you can see really where the standing water is the worst. Where he is right now, it's not dry down there for sure, but it's a little more clay in that soil on that end of the track. So you can see they're getting plenty of bite coming back up this way. Look at that, he grabbed the slap wheelie in the slop. Jim Kohler painting the Avenger brown on this weekend here in Fowlerville. Kohler has to have taken over the lead with that run. I don't think he got to use as much of the track as he would have normally liked, but I don't think it's going to matter as they're going to have a ton of cleaning to do before they bring this thing back out for intros tomorrow. Here comes John Zimmer Sr. now in uproar. Going big out into the starting line area. Carrying the colors for Alta Equipment Company, one of many sponsors this weekend. Show you how much lip there actually is on the back of that flyaway right there. That's what tripped up Tim Jones earlier, and you can see how abrupt that hit actually is. Taken to the track like a duck to water. This thing is just finding paths through this mud, and those BKTs actually could be helping him a lot right now. It's a softer compound tire. There's a lot of tread on it. It's got side tread, so he can point and shoot this thing with some precision, about as much as you can get in this mud. This is a great run he has going right now. 540 cubic inch Richard Midget engine in the back of this thing with the electronic fuel injection. Would not want to be the person who has to clean out the air filter on this after a run in the mud the way he's throwing down right here. He's had a lot of hang time, some unmatched momentum. Cyclones in the slop. I'll tell you right now that Abruzzi transmissions they run in these trucks are getting tested out here this weekend. As hard as they're running these trucks in this mud, started the evening on a dry track with two-wheel, some hard straight line racing, and then some really, really treacherous freestyles on and off the throttle. And these trucks really weren't built to run in the mud. They like to float. They do run those big Terra tires, those flotation tires. It makes it so they don't sit down in the mud. They sit on top of it. And yeah, when they throttle, it does dig out some big trenches, but it digs out such a wide path that the truck really doesn't get a hold of the earth and move it. It more or less just flings the topsoil off, and when it gets sloppy out here like this, it is so hard for these guys to find the traction that they need to really point these trucks with them. And look at this, just creeping around there. He's coming out by the wall. John Zimmer Jr. now in terminal velocity, looking to try to get that big win. He's 2 for 2 out of 3 competitions after Freestyle. We'll see if he will be 3 for 3. He just took a clean sweep in South Bend, Indiana. As I mentioned, we're only about 2.5 hours from our previous stop with the Throwdown crew. That was in South Bend. Now here in Fowlerville, the rest of the crew was up here while we were down there with the smaller version of the Throwdown crew. They're up here prepping this track and this facility for this wild weekend, although I don't think they thought it was going to get like this. Throwing caution to the wind as he flies high here in Michigan. Ascendant Motorsports team based just up the road, and how, look at that huge hang time. Got it pointed straight, hung in there, and got the back of that, or actually that was the racing side of that. This is a driver's track. It was supposed to be a driver's track, so there's plenty of elevation off of those jumps. He is just threading moves together, and it is working for him, although he almost got himself in trouble there. You can see he found some dry dirt. He was hoping for a backflip tonight. I don't think it's going to happen in this track, but he is not disappointed. Cyclones up the face of the finish line jump. Zimmer just keeping his foot in it and going wherever the truck is telling him it wants to go. It's starting to get hot in there, you can tell. I don't know if he's got oil coming out of the left side of that engine, if he's cooked part of it. Hopefully he did not just hurt that motor, but he is running it super hard. It may just be mud getting up on the headers. Look, he grabs his slap wheelie. Wraps up an absolutely sensational freestyle here in front of the crowd in his now home state of Michigan. Terminal velocity, John Zimmer Jr. trying to one-up the machines that came in front of him. The question is, did he do it?
Judges, he went 3 for 3. Your freestyle and overall champion, Terminal Velocity.
So it will be 3 for 3 for Zimmer with that massive hang time, some incredible cyclones, and he is headed down to talk to track announcer Matt Looker.
Monster Truck Throwdown, let me know. All righty, there he is, your freestyle and overall champion, John Zimmer Jr. in Terminal Velocity. So I got 2 trophies for you this time, freestyle, and the big one, overall championship. 3 for 3, Ascendant Motorsports taking all the hardware of today.
That's insane, you know. Just like I said earlier, I'm 10 minutes from home. This is the closest show that I'll ever do, probably my entire career, until if we come back next year, who knows. I've had an absolute blast burning that truck to the ground and watching everybody else battle it out there. Pushed me harder, and it definitely pushes me even harder seeing you fans stick it out with that rain. That was horrible. I knew that killed everybody's mood. When I looked outside of my trailer and saw you guys were still standing out here underneath that nice covered area, not getting muddy like we did out here, it just drives us to run these trucks into the ground.
This Back Channel Productions presentation has been brought to you by Gemini Associates. Whether you live upstairs, downstairs, or anywhere in general, we are here to serve.